My name is Carrie Mayfield, and the farm that I am representing today is our farm. It's called Sunbelt Transplants. And this is us. Just like Mike said, farming is definitely a family affair. And so here is our crew. And we added one more grandbaby to that yesterday. So
Yeah.
we now have 9 little ones that spend a lot of time on the farm and a lot of time at the farmhouse. So we stay busy with our crops and our kids for sure. Okay, so a little bit about our background is my husband Gary and I started the farm. Well, we didn't start the farm. We bought the farm in 1997 from Gary's parents, but we are both from third generation farming families. So we are the third generation. We both graduated from the University of Arizona, and thus the throwback picture in the corner, that's the class of 1984. So we are proud of that. Also, to kind of play on a little bit of our other 2 presenters, is Yuma is such a great area, and our class of in our ag class, our graduating ag class in 1984, 8 of us went to Yuma and all had jobs. So when you have a degree in agriculture, I cannot reiterate the fact that you will be getting a job. And so back then, all 8 of us are still in agriculture, still friends, still working together in some different capacities. So I can't say strongly enough what that means to get a degree in agriculture. And Yuma's just a great area. We were there for a while, and now in Buckeye. We wanted, of course, to continue the farming lifestyle. We just think it's been a great lifestyle for our family and wanted our kids to grow up in that. And now that bottom picture is our son, Jacob, who also graduated from the University of Arizona and is going to start on, hopefully in the next few years, go to farming on his own. So, I'm excited to do this with you here today. Sunbelt Transplants is our farm operation. We grow onion transplants, dry onions, cotton, wheat, turnips, alfalfa, broccoli seed, and a variety of other produce also. That little picture is one of the grandsons with a giant turnip that he brought out of the field. The middle one is cotton seed that is just coming up, and the other picture is alfalfa. So we grow, our main crop, though, is onion transplants, and we actually grow transplants for other farmers. And so why do farmers need transplants? Well, you just heard Mike talking, and they use transplants. They grow their own, grow them in a greenhouse so that they can get them out there. But we grow, other farmers need transplants for several different reasons, but some of them so they can get started early to grow a bigger onion. And that makes a big difference too in where their market is. Sometimes you can have a higher market at a specific time of the year. So farmer wants to get started at a specific time so that they can get their crop to market. And also there is, with a transplant, you have a stand, you have an assured crop for your, in case you have bad weather in your area or something comes along, you have an assured crop. I think you also heard from Mortimer Farms yesterday, and they grow some of our transplants for them. And we grow for farmers across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And so the farmer sends their seed to us so that we can begin the growing process. So we take that seed, tiny little seed, very expensive, and we know everything about that seed, what variety is, what the germ is, and we take all this information in, and we record it, so we know on our farm, every row on our farm, we know who it's for, when that seed was planted, what the variety is, when it was watered, so that when we go back to harvest, we will also know everything about that seed and who it goes to. The timing of the planting of the seed is based on the geographical location that the seed was sent from, and then will eventually be returned to. So that's how we plant throughout our season. The seeds are planted, as you can see in this picture, in 3 lines. Each row is, I just told you, is documented for everything about it. And then we begin planting in October, and we plant through January according to the geographical location, again, of where the transplant will be sent. So now it's time to water and grow. We water the onions approximately every 2 weeks, and we monitor for insects, weed, and fungus. And you heard a lot of talk in the last couple of presentations about PCAs, which are pest control advisors. We also use those. They come on our farm. They help us to really look at everything and to see what kind of inputs we will be putting into that crop. We use water, comes from a canal system for us, plus groundwater. We have wells on our property. We also use a sump system so that we can catch the tailwater and reuse it again. So water is a crucial input for us that we have to take care of as much as possible, and we are trying to conserve as much as possible. So it's very important for us. Also wanted to say that we do grow, because there was a little talk of onions. If you'll go back to that last slide.
Sure. Sorry about that.
We do grow onions on a piece of ground every 3 years. So that is another important thing. Farmers have to be sure that we are taking care of our soil, because that is what's producing our crops. So we only plant every 3 years and grow other crops during that time. Okay. The onion does have a big life. We start harvesting it after 90 days of growing, and we bring in H2A workers from Mexico as well as our own local harvesters starting in February. And H2A is a government program that brings in workers, and it's very specific they work on our farm only. They're there for a specific amount of time. They have someone who watches over them, that they are being treated fairly and properly. And we also house and transport them to and from the field. So it's a very specific program. And you heard before that labor is our greatest cost, and it's also our greatest need. So all of our things all of our labor is done by hand. And that's becoming a really big issue for us with the lack of labor here in the US. And if we can plant a great crop, but if you can't harvest it, it's not going to get to market. So that's been an important piece for us. And the harvesting begins with the seed, of course, that was planted first, and we harvest through then May, according to where it's going. Okay. To harvest, go ahead. A tractor comes through the field and it undercuts the onions with a blade. And so you have the ability then to be able to, the worker then can pull a handful of onions. If you can see on this picture, that band of red is rubber bands. So they pull a bunch, they rubber band it, and they set it in there just at the row. And then the transplants, then go ahead. Okay. The bundles are then put into wire-bound wood boxes, or RPCs, which are reusable containers. You can see both of those. They actually build the wood box in the field, and then they put the bundles into the boxes, and on the bottom there, it's in an RPC. And there's approximately 60 bundles in each box. So that's how they get their onion count. Okay. So once we get them in the box, then they're loaded onto a flatbed truck and they're taken into our shipping yard. And there we palletize the boxes. and load them onto semi trucks that are refrigerated so that they're going on a long haul to New York, then they can they'll stay fresh. And of course the seed that we planted first is the one that goes back first, so that then the farmer on the other side then replants the seed and grows it into a full dry onion, so that you purchase at your grocery store. So it really is a big life that your little onion does have. If it's a transplant, the seed has been sent to us, planted it, we've taken care of it, we've raised it for 90 days, we harvest it, pack it, reship it to the farmer on the other end, then they take it, replant it, grow it out to a full dry onion that you see in your grocery store, and they've had to ship it there. So that one little onion has done a lot of traveling for the most part if you're getting an onion transplant. So a couple of fun facts about the onion is the onions that you get on like at Outback, the blooming onion, most of those are transplants because those are the ones that they can get to a really large size. And there are only 2 onion transplant growers in the United States, and we're one of them. And when we say that, we grow all of these out in open fields. There's no greenhouse growing with the onions that we grow. And there's also no machine that harvests onion transplants, so it all has to be done by hand. There's some research going on in some different places, Holland and a few other places that are trying to find something, but have not found a machine that we have been able to figure out to get that to happen. We also, little fun fact is we sell onion transplants to the Hooterite colonies in Montana and Canada. They're similar to Amish, but not. And the fun thing about that is there has been times when we may get a beautiful quilt or rug or possibly a little moonshine that comes back to us in the form of payment. So we've enjoyed their business. Transplants can live up to 3 weeks after harvesting before you replant them. Sometimes if we're sending them to, say, New York, they might have really bad weather. They got a late snow. So as we're pulling them here and sending them there, they get a late snow. So they can lay them out in their barns, and they will live for another 3 weeks before they have to be planted. And 1 acre of transplants, you saw how thick they were. 1 acre of transplants equals 25 acres on the other end for the farmers. So we plant them very small, very tightly, because we pull them up when they're about pencil size. You can see that transplant there. So those, so 1 acre of ours equals 25 acres of dry onions. So also, like Mike Clements, we grow organic transplants also to grow to full dry onions that are organic. Like he said, you have to have your field certified by a third-party certification company, and we use compost manure for that. Also, everything is done by hand. Like he said, we do all the weeding by hand. No chemicals are used, and it is a different product in the fact in cost because of the cost that has to go into it to produce it, and there is the production rate is less because it is organic. So, but there's a need for that, and so we're able to fulfill that need. Okay. So broccoli seed is one of the things that was a new crop to us this past year, and we grew it here. Arizona climate is good for that. You see they're growing seed fields in Yuma also, and so we're able to do that here too. And our if in that top right right screen, you see that that's the broccoli field. So it doesn't look like what we think a broccoli field will look like. It's something that's it's a different process for growing seed than it is for growing for table consumption. That middle picture of the field, it shows it where it's been cut. So the seed is cut with a swath, so it lays it down, and then a combine comes through and picks it up. And there's just some little pictures there of the tiny little seed and some ladybugs that are in it. Also, we use bees. Also, bees are an important part of farming, and so we're as farmers, we do have to be cautious. That's one of our resources, and so we are very cautious with the bees and our beneficial insects. So we don't take any of that lightly, and so that is that's our broccoli seed production. It's a new thing for us this year. We also do grow a small amount of dry onions, which means we grow them out to a full onion that you see. So the harvesters, those big set of shears that the harvester has, they pull the onion out of the ground. We undercut it also. Pull it out of the ground. They shear the roots. They shear the top. Put it in plastic buckets and then move it from the buckets to those burlap bags. And the burlap bags helps the onion to cure for a few days. And also here in this Arizona sun helps it to not sunburn. Okay. So once they're in those burlap bags, then they take the burlap bags, put them on the grader, which is in the field, and they grade them in the field. And there's chains and conveyor belts that help size those onions. And then they bag them into the mesh 50-pound bags that you see sometimes. And then once again, they put the bag out to the field. And then we pick the bags up from the field and take them into the shed. Okay. And once they're back at the shed, they're palletized, and we put that mesh around them. You want them to breathe as much as possible, to get as much air as possible, to keep them from getting hot in the center or rotting in the center. Because if they get too hot, they will rot. So they put that mesh around them to hold them in place. We load them again onto semi-trucks, not necessarily refrigerated semi-trucks, that they'll go to different areas. This year, talked a little bit about it, but this year we were able to donate a pretty large amount of our onions to St. Mary's Food Bank and to our little local food bank here in Buckeye. Market was soft with COVID, and we had some extras that were already out of the field, and so St. Mary sent a big semi to pick them up, and we loaded them on, and we were happy to do it this year with so much going on with COVID that worked out well for us. But like Mike said, it's not every year that you get to do that. And so we were thankful to be able to do it this year. Okay. So the other thing that I like to do, I am not in the office or on a tractor every day. And so one of the things that I started doing to kind of help keep agriculture in front of people is I began a blog on the building of our farmhouse, which is on the farm. And the blog has really grown into a social media presence about farm life and hospitality. And I think farm life and hospitality go hand in hand. And we are thankful and happy that we get to feed the world and clothe the world as farmers. And so hospitality is part of our DNA and who we are. So I really wanted to be able to kind of express that and to help people that really do understand where our food comes from and where our fabric comes from. And so we also started hosting public markets here at our farmhouse. And as you can see, we had my daughter-in-law is from Oregon, and her father is a Christmas tree grower. So we were able to get fresh Christmas trees from Oregon that we sold at our market, and wreaths and garland. We also have fresh pumpkins, we have fresh flowers, and also produce at our markets. COVID was a little hard on us in the spring market, so we didn't have that, but we're looking forward to some future markets to help, just to help the general public and to help the followers on social media know what it really looks like to have fresh produce and to always have agriculture in front of them. Go ahead.
Hey, we're about right at the end here, but we do have some questions. So we'll go ahead and go ahead. And I just wanted to kind of give you a little time warning there.
Okay, if you'll just do that last slide.
Sure.
That this is if you all want to be involved in being a part of what we're doing here at Sunbelt Transplants, and Sweet Flower Home is the media, social media presence, but we're putting together a book called Sheltering in Place, Stories and Recipes from Home. That's the farmhouse there. And you can see all of that on your screen there and follow us and find out how to be a part of our book. So we'd love to have you with that also. Okay, I'm ready for it.
Excellent. And so we will be sure and share all of the contact information with our teachers, all of your social media stuff. We'll be sure to share that with them. So thank you so much, but hold on. We do have a couple of questions, all right? The first one, I'm gonna go back to this slide. One of the questions that came in was, what is your plan to address the labor issues in the future? That's one question. And then here's the second part of that. How do we support our farm workers so that the job is attractive? How can we support our farm workers so that the job is attractive to more people?
Well, that's a really good question. I guess how we're addressing it right now is that we do have to be, we're very pro making sure that governmentally we can continue to provide a legal, safe way to bring in workers from other countries through the H-2A program. That has been a lifesaver for us to have that program in place. And you know, we've traveled the world, and seems so many other countries in agriculture always has somebody from another country working. So in those really hard hand labor jobs, and the way that we can make it more attractive as farmers to attract that labor is we have been very thankful and very fortunate that our group of about 40 laborers have come back to us for almost 10 years. So as farmers, we do not take it lightly of making sure that they are paid adequately, that we provide for them while they're in the field, and that we treat them with respect. And we understand as the farmer how important they are to us. And so we try, that's how it starts from there, making sure that those workers feel the value that they really are, and they are for all of us. They are for all of us. So when, as educators, many of you probably have those farm worker kids in your classes, that we make sure that they understand that's important what their families are doing for all of us.
Excellent.